So what I'm going to do today is, instead of, well, I'm going to review several books, but I'm also going to compare them. There have been a lot of retro clones for D&D coming out. In fact, not this one, but the next one will be Dungeon Crawl Classics, I believe. That book actually deserves a whole entire review of its own. The two books I'm going to be reviewing, Swords, do it, Brian. Swords and Wizardry and Castles and Crusades. I can't even get near the picture, sorry. What Castles and Crusades does is it's a perfect marriage between D20 and old school gaming. It makes everything a very simple roll of a D20, except for damage, of course. Everything's a simple D20 roll, and even skills, you don't really have skills, but they have rules to cover skills. And I think that's the one thing I like about Castles and Crusades is not only do they have rules to cover things you would think about in a typical game, but they also make it very simple and make it very D20 compatible. So you could include all kinds of D20 rules like feats and whatnot into this game if you want to. Having said that, and that's good. Between the two games, I wouldn't even say it's apples and oranges, really, because Castles and Crusades is going to be, the kind of rule set that covers everything, and Swords and Wizardry is going to be the kind of rule set where the DM has to create the rules, and feels free to create the rules because there's so few of them. Apples and oranges. Even the covers, it's apples and oranges. This is, by the way, the color edition of Castles and Crusades. So cover-wise, I would say they're probably even, though personally, I'm kind of going with Swords and Wizardry. I think it's a little bit better of a cover. And if you've heard my other rants and raves about Castles and Crusades art, enough said. I think, though, as far as art and layout, Swords and Wizardry just has Castles and Crusades blown out of the water. And I emailed the writer of Castles and Crusades, Steve Chainot, I believe his last name is, and we had a pretty long discussion about what I felt was the problem. Why I felt his what was lacking in his game. Presentation is half of the battle when you have a gaming book, whether you want to believe it or not. When I look at this game, I don't really get as inspired as I do in this one. This one, I see some really cool picture in there, and I want to play that. Oh, that makes me want to play this or that. Not so much with this one. Also, I think going color for Castles and Crusades, while it is a very rich and warm feel to the book, I don't know if green was really the right color for the pages. The green is kind of a sickly yellow green, and I don't know. Presentation's half of it, and I think the coloring is just a little off. So I don't know if going color was really the way to go. I'm certain they thought, well, Pathfinder and Dungeons and Dragons goes color, so we gotta go color. I think what they should have done was gotten some artists, more than just the one in-house artist who does all the stuff. They needed to really Mix it up a little bit. So it's really a toss-up between what kind of game you want to play. In Swords and Wizardry, it is very old school. It is basically the basic Dungeons and Dragons rule sets, kind of simplified and clarified, but not really changed all that much. They did include the D20 armor class system in here, but you could just as well do the old school armor class system. They give you an option. So this is a game, as I said before, especially for those DMs who just want to basically have a basic outline of a game, and they're going to house rule all kinds of crap to it. That's fine. But so can Castles and Crusades. You can house rule as to death as much as you want to also. And more importantly, a lot of the rules are clarified beforehand. Now, I am very conflicted on which one I want to play and run, because I can see the beauty in both of these games. I think, though, I'm going to do a little... See, right now I have a Castles and Crusades on every other Sunday. I'm going to see about setting up a group for Swords and Wizardry and see what the response is for that one. Will I get more players or not? I don't really know as far as... It sounds like I'm just harping on Castles and Crusades. I think the reason I harp so much on it is because I really like the rule set, but the presentation has got to change a lot. I just look at this beautiful cover by Earl Otis, and I mean, it blows me away. And the art inside, they use a lot of art from the Necromancer game line. Brian LeBlanc and I don't know, some of the others that did a lot of art for Necromancer are in here. Even there's who was the guy who did a lot of the vampire things? He does like one illustration in here. So they've really gone out of their way. And when I look at this book, old school, I get that really big. I don't get it here. I mean, Bradley is a good artist, hands down, but he's very limited. And once you've seen one of his pieces, yeah, that's a Bradley. I think, and I know I'm harping on the presentations of the book more than the actual content, but it is what it is. And another thing, especially like Castles and Crusades, the monsters and treasures are in their own other book, so you get more monsters, more treasures talked about in that book than you do in the very basic Swords and Wizardry. Again, apples and oranges, but I feel that Castles and Crusades really needs to wake up, because they put out a book. That's a kick-ass book. I know I can get 5 people that have never played a role-playing game, look at this book, and they'll want to play this game over this game. I know that. Just from the look of it, it's going to happen. And same thing with the Dungeon Crawl Classic, which I'll talk about later. That book is this thick, and it is full of old school art. And I won't go into trying to find anything in that book, but the art, the layout of that book, the cover, it blows Castles and Crusades away. So I think I know what's happening. I see it happening every day. There's more and more people doing old school gaming. And not just Castles and Crusades, but Swords and Wizardry, even Dungeon Crawl Classics, really need to look and watch what's happening, because I have a feeling somebody's going to come up with something even better. But for now, again, I'm conflicted. I've been playing this one for a while. Now I kind of feel like I want to play this for a while. Again, the layout, the art, the beauty of the book, really kind of, and maybe it'll last just for a few months or something. I don't know. There's a lot of things I disagree with it there. Limiting people because characters because of the race. That's old-fashioned thinking. They should have just gotten rid of that. But anyway, my views on Swords and Wizardry and Castles and Crusades.